All right, hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredzo B, Nash Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Burt-Miller Jr. We are your hosts for the Cyber Coffee Hour. Alfredzo and I are products of Mount Vernon, New York, sharing our experiences and stories and sharing those of our amazing guests. We aim to share knowledge, elevate understanding, and foster a sense of belonging in this vast cyberspace. So for today's show, we will have a coffee chat with information technology security specialist Dr. Dannielle Eason. Now, Dr. Dannielle Eason is from Prince George's County, Maryland, has always had a passion for computer programming, ignited by her early exploration of MySpace and Black Planet. During her youth, she created dynamic web pages with music, visuals, and intricate designs. This early fascination with technology paved the way for her enrollment in the Science and Technology program during high school, culminating in a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. At just 20 years old, Dr. Dannielle embarked on her professional journey in information technology, where she quickly became aware of her pervasive racial and gender imbalances within the industry. Navigating a field dominated by white men presented numerous challenges, but her resilience and determination enabled her to overcome these obstacles. Dr. Dannielle has emerged as a prominent voice in workplace diversity and inclusion throughout her career. She frequently speaks at panels on complex issues such as code switching, the impact of societal events on employee morale, and advocating for a fairer work environment. Today, Dr. Dannielle is a seasoned IT consultant with 16 years of experience, specializing in cybersecurity governance, risk, and compliance. She holds a doctorate in information systems management and is a certified information systems security professional, or CISSP. Committed to shaping the next generation of cybersecurity experts, she serves as a mentor to students in institutional cybersecurity programs. Beyond her professional endeavors, Dr. Dannielle cherishes quality time with her friends and family and finds balance through yoga and dance. Her journey reflects a blend of technical expertise, advocacy, and personal growth, making her a remarkable figure in the IT and cybersecurity fields. Dr. Danny, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here with you all.
Awesome. As we kind of discussed during the pre-show leading up to this, it has been a minute, so I just want to do a little quick check-in. Alfredo, how are you doing, sir? What's been the latest going on? How was your fourth, by the way?
My fourth was amazing. Thank you for asking. Lots been going on. We kind of grilled and chilled a little bit, and also I tried not to break the law. So I did some research on fireworks out in my area, and then hopefully that'll lead into like a new hobby next year. And I also was awarded my horticulture technician certification. I posted up on my LinkedIn. I was a little nervous about
Congrats.
it. Yeah. So I am now entry-level nursery worker, if that matters. But I could build out nurseries, backyard, professionally and stuff. So I thought I didn't make the cut. I told you before, I thought I failed the landscape graphics course, but it turns out I passed. I scraped by and got the certification. So
you passed.
Yeah, that's all it kind of. So I celebrated that a little bit, and that leads into other hobbies and interests in the horticulture space.
Nice. Yeah. Dr. Danny, how about you? How was your holiday?
So I actually got to spend the holiday in Baltimore. I'm a PG girl, so you don't really venture up there too often. But no, it was a great time. Got to see some fireworks, ate some good food, good company, just a real good time. So real chill. It's a place called Alexander's Tavern.
Nice.
So I have a gluten issue, but they have great gluten-free options. So it's really a place for me to like really just go pick out. It is what it is. I got to pick out. Good time.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
I said Baltimore too. That's kind of cool.
On the holiday, nice. I didn't do anything. I pretty much sat on the couch. I will say I caught up on some shows. I don't know if either of you watched Supercell on Netflix.
Oh, how was that?
It's very good. Like I finished it. And I almost want to rewatch the whole season again because it's that good. And it's definitely going to be a season 2 because the story is definitely not done. So it's very good. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then now I'm currently watching another show. It's on Netflix as well. It's called A Man in Full. There you go. A Man in Full. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's with Jeff Daniels. He's He was in the show The Newsroom back on HBO a while back. Even before that, of course, he was with Dumb and Dumber alongside Jim Carrey. Well, that's going like way back. But
that was. I'm like, who is this guy? When you said the Dumb and Dumber, I was like, okay.
try to use that first, but I think a lot of people just immediately know Jeff Daniels, yeah, Dumb and Dumber. But no, Jeff Daniels is really a great actor, and like I said, the Newsroom was a show I really enjoyed that he did quite a while back, which was very good as well. I came out on HBO a few years back, so. But yeah, A Man in Full, I'm currently entrenched in that. So yeah, again, I just, like I said, just pretty much bumming out, just really doing nothing, trying to do nothing at all.
Nothing wrong with that. Those are good days.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to it as we learn about our guest, Dr. Danny. Again, we have here on the Cyber Coffee Hour. So, Dr. Danny, so how did your early experiences with platforms like MySpace and Black Planet influence your decision to pursue a career, in computer programming and eventually specialize in cybersecurity?
I started like most people did with MySpace and Black Planet, copying, pasting code, trying to figure out, what works where, how does it look, how can I bring people to my page,
Right.
type thing. So I just really got into it, and then as I'm sitting there looking at the code, I'm like, what does all of this actually mean? A lot of my dad's siblings, they're actually in the IT space, so his youngest sister at the time was a web designer. So I just started asking questions, started, what is this? How do you do it? What does it mean? Type, just curious questions. So I started tinkering with it on my own. Kind of like you mentioned in my bio, after, doing that, I was like, well, I actually want to, keep pushing this. So enrolled in the science and technology program in my high school. My first programming class was Visual Basic. I'm like, cool, I got this. My second class was C++. I was like, wait a minute, but I got this. And then I pushed through. Just really just got the hang of it. After that, pursued my bachelor's in computer science, and I was like, this is great. This is a great hobby, but I don't know that I want to do this like every day. Like I want to interact with people. I want to talk to people. So, long story short, how most of us start out in the IT field, start out with help desk, desktop support, and then the sysadmin, and then it just kind of rolled into the cybersecurity space from there. And now I'm in a space in cybersecurity where I can really bring my personality and I can bring the technical together and go talk to people and just make it all work together in the space that I'm in.
No, I think that's really great, as you touched on about really having that curiosity, and then asking those questions and really building upon that, and of course that blossomed into now a full-fledged career in the field. So during that time, can you share maybe like a specific moment or a project from those early days that you would say that solidified your passion for technology?
Sure. So I won't say that it was a project per se. It was really a moment. It was with my mama. So my mom from an early age, she cultivated in us that work ethic, right? So she was a manager at a dental office. So she had us in there answering the phones. Hi, thank you for calling Dr. Tappan's office. How can I help you today? Doing that, stuffing envelopes, developing X-rays, and like cleaning the room, sterilizing rooms and equipment. So she really ingrained in us that work ethic. And as she noticed that I had this passion for it, she was like, "Oh, baby, that's good money. You may want to stick with this because I like nice things, and I've always liked nice things." And honestly, it really it tied it all together. It was really an upbringing along with the passion. So yes.
That's awesome.
Nice. That is amazing. So let's tap into that a little bit. As a young Black woman entering the IT industry, what were some of the most significant challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them entering the industry?
So there was, when I started in help desk, it was like a very diverse mixed group of people. But as I moved to tier 2 support, I'm the only Black person. I'm the only female. And I was in headquarters, so that's where you're providing that white glove service. You're on their beck and call. Whenever they call, you better come, jump, run, and get there. So that alone, being the only woman in that space, the only Black woman in that space, being at their beck and call when they need. You kind of can read in between the lines of what I'm feeling there. That was a feeling in itself. And then I recall this conference that I went to, mind you, I'm like in my early 20s. It was in Lansdowne, Virginia, at the resort that they have out there. The only IT support there, the only Black person there. The only Black person.
The only one at all.
Only Black person. But it made me kind of look at it like, you know, I'm actually in a really good position per se, because I know there's other people who would actually die to be in the position that I'm in now. You know, it was a thing. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes you, you know, grow into that uncomfortable space. So not only that, you know, just dealing with other Black women things that we come up with our clothing, our hair, the way we should talk, just those different things, just learning how to get comfortable with who I am,
Right.
what I like to call it. And I think that's really the main thing, just getting comfortable with who I am. Like when I came out of school, I was making $55,000 a year. That's a lot to a kid that just came out of school, right? So it's like, again, people would die to be in this position that I'm in right now. There are adults that would, you know, love to, you know, be in this position that I am.
I can relate to that.
No. So overcoming it kind of got to the point where it's like, Dannielle, be grateful for where you're at and what you have, and just keep pushing through. So that's how I overcame. Just, you know, I got a house, I got got bills. Like I'm trying to live. I'm still in school, so there's other things that, you know, I'm pushing to do, and that's really how I overcame. Just keeping my eyes on the bigger picture.
Nice. So were there any mentors or role models who played a pivotal role during this period of your career that you can remember or relate to?
Off the top of my head, no. I will say that I had some great bosses. I would say throughout my career, I've had really good bosses, but I was also in a space of I can do it all by myself. I don't need no help. I can do this. I'm smart.
Right.
You know how that is. Yeah. and not realizing at the time, like, Dannielle, you probably did need that mentor. You did need another strong person in there to really, you know, really help and guide you along the way. But I didn't realize that, you know, then today I have tons and coaches and mentors and I'm a mentor myself, in hopes that, you know, someone else, like the issues haven't changed, right? They're still imbalance, I could call it, in the field. There's still a lot of inappropriate things that happen in the field to women in the field. So today I just want to be that person for someone, or at least make that space for someone else who may be going through the same thing, to know that you don't have to do this by yourself. There are other people who have experienced the same thing, and we can give you some great guidance to, you know, navigate through it. So no one back then, but I will say towards maybe a little later in my career, around 2018, I did have someone who helped me bring more of myself out, more of my personality out. Her name is Tracy Duval. She's going to watch this because I'm going to send her the link.
I have another guest out for a shows.
But no, seriously, she's just funny, fun-loving. Like she, you are going to get all of her personality in the first 2 minutes of talking to her, and she just really helped me just be comfortable with showing who I am and what I'm all about in the workspace.
Awesome. That's
awesome. Yep.
So in your bio and your history, you advocate for code switching and workplace diversity. What motivated you to become a prominent voice in these areas, and what impact do you hope to achieve along your journey?
Yep. So this started in 2020, after the death of George Floyd. We were all home during COVID, working from home. But, you know, when those things happen, I know for me, a lot of times it's like, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to talk to people at work about anything because y'all don't understand how I'm feeling. Y'all don't want to talk about how I'm feeling, that whole thing. So myself, another young lady, Letitia, and her boss, Jamal, we put this group together called Allies in Action. So it started with just talking about, you know, how we would get through, you know, being at home in COVID with these things going on. It just started off as a safe place to discuss these things. It really brought people together because when you talk about these things, it it increases your relationships. You have better relationships, you're going to work better together. That's just what it is. But it kind of spun into more of that. Code switching and workplace diversity, that's really just, I mean, given my background, that's just my thing. I don't know if you guys caught, but when I was speaking, I was like, hi, this is Dannielle. Thank you for calling Dr. Tappan's office. I was taught that, okay? I was literally taught to be a code switch. But in all actuality, for me, it has helped me. I know for a lot of people, it's helped. Depending on how you look at it, it's really almost a thing of respect, depending on where you are. Country, if you're in a different country, it's really a thing of respect and learning how and knowing how when to turn it on and off. Also letting your own personality come through during those times as well. Like it's needed and it's necessary. And of course, with workplace diversity, I think a lot of times we get hung up, like me personally, again, I don't know what I'm going to go to work and talk to these people about. I don't know how to connect with these people. I'm so confused. I don't know what to say. Going in as a contractor, because I started out as a contractor, you're taught, don't talk about sports or politics. I'm like,
Ding,
but I
ding,
like
ding.
football. So what do you mean?
And video games.
Yes. But so at any rate, just learning how to connect with other people is important. And when you learn to make that connection with people, again, you're building better relationships. You build better relationships, you work well together. And especially in the IT space, we want that diverse crowd, right? As we're developing new systems, we're talking about development AI, a lot of that early AI stuff, a lot of it still, it does not recognize Black people's faces.
Right.
Or a lot of Black people were getting, wrongly arrested because it's like, well, it was you. It's like, no, that's your system is wrong. Your system is flawed because you didn't include us in the development of it, right?
Right.
That just goes all the way around. So all that to say, my goal right now, just short term, small goal, I want to help people, whatever color, religion you are, just want them to feel comfortable just being who they are. Whether you're inside the workplace, outside the workplace, be comfortable with who you are, be proud of who you are, and speak up. So.
I think that's great. And one thing that came to mind as you mentioned when you talk about code switching, do you receive like pushback in regards to that, saying like you shouldn't code switch, like you should be I guess like your authentic self at all times? Because like for me personally, I do think I personally think there is a balance, or there is a time and a place for everything. I think yes, I don't think it takes away from like who you are, but at the same time, you got to recognize like if I'm sitting and watching the Yankees game, acting like a maniac, I can't do that at work. So yeah, it's still yeah. Do you get that a bit, like when someone like those who may say like, no, you should always be turned to 100% everywhere you go?
No, I think there's a healthy balance. Like there's a significant difference between being professional and not being professional, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's just that. Like, I'm not going to, if I'm speaking in front of the CEO, like I'm not gonna, walk up to her and just start speaking slang, because she's not even gonna understand what I'm talking about. I give her kudos because we had, sit there and we'll have conversations. She's like, what is that? What does cap mean? And she's so sweet.
I think there's an orientation session every time. So I'll throw myself on the fence. I don't have that etiquette. So what you see is what you kind of get. And I guess it's gotten me in trouble in some of these boardrooms in the past, right? And I do purposely try, like folks have told me my resume is boring compared to my personality. So I bring my personality first everywhere. I've been to scrum meetings and board meetings and incident and calls, and this is what they get. And then there's an education section. I love the shock factor too. There's an etiquette to introducing yourself to an organization and allowing that organization to accept you for who you are.
Absolutely.
So I think I love it. I love the culture shock that comes with, like you said, the diversity and the education factor. Yeah, let's talk about some video games for a second. Let's talk about how this platform isn't built like a video game I love, And it's gotten me in trouble. I'm not gonna front. It's gotten me in trouble. I put it right out there, 100%. This is just my personality. And sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes people are like, well, where is that on your resume? Where's that personality of yours on your resume? Because we almost looked you over. So a lot of times I like that face-to-face time to show people who I am and how I'm diverse in the environment. Essentially, there's an etiquette to both, I think.
Absolutely. And I feel like you can still be yourself and be professional. You can still be yourself and show, that personality that you have, and people can be receptive of it. And again, it's a matter of you getting comfortable with yourself in order to really
Right.
move that
100%.
forward. Yeah.
So you definitely have a lot of experience. 16 years and counting, to be exact.
Not much,
Nice.
right?
No, about to be an adult out here. The career's about to be adult.
Almost legal drinking age.
So with over 16 years of experience in GRC, what key trends or challenges do you see emerging in this field, and how should professionals prepare for them?
So I'll say one of the big emerging technology, really, things that's coming towards us is post-quantum cryptography.
That's a good choice. Right.
But just for your viewers, like post-quantum cryptography is all about creating algorithms that prevent against the break-in of quantum computers. So quantum computers, they're evolving, and eventually at some point they're going to be able to break encryption, the RSA, the Diffie-Hellmans, the ECC that we use. It's going to eventually be able to crack that. So just looking, like, they compare this to, we don't really have anything to compare it to, right? But experts are
Skynet. No. Sorry.
Okay. They're comparing this to Y2K, like, right? I was still a little one when Y2K happened, but that's the only thing that we really have to compare it to right now. So as we're looking at it, and it's coming up on us slowly, but quickly. I think they said like 2031 is when we can expect this to start happening, or somewhere around that time frame. But I'd say the biggest thing that we could do right now, keep up with the NIST developments, keep up with the research that's coming up about it, keep up with recent cyber attacks, cyber news, see what's going on, keep going to conferences, seeing how other agencies and other organizations are preparing for this, because it's coming.
Right.
It's going to be very detrimental to our security and to our privacy. And another thing I would highly recommend for organizations, kind of do an assessment of your environment. What risk are you bumping up against right now? What are you using? Where are you using it? What data is it protecting? And I know there's a ton of other priorities with, agencies still trying to move to the cloud. You have ZTA, AI, that's, we're trying to, get a hold on those things. But I think this is something we should start looking at now. And another thing for that is start working with our third party. Like, we're all moving to cloud environments. Most of us already in hybrid environments, right? But what are those providers doing? How are they preparing for it? And just kind of looking now to see where we're at. Like, a lot of those FedRAMP packages, they're using 853 Rev 4.
Talk about that risk acceptance.
It's supposed to be on Rev 5. So
right.
Exactly, right?
You said 5, right? Is the quantum one?
I think they're saying 2033. I think it's
wow. Yeah. I mean,
that's gonna be here before we know it. So that's one of the big things. I think another thing that we really have to start doing in the governance, risk, and compliance space is leveraging that AI. It would be such a lifesaver for me. I know everybody's environment is different, but when we're talking about having your compliance that aligns to your risk assessments, that's analyzing your policies and procedures, if we can put all that together, it's going with your projects. The new compliance comes out, you need this new project to go along with it, and you have all these things in one place. I know there's tools out there that do it. It's more so about the processes and the organizations putting all these things in place so they can congruently work together to just really make life easier. I'm looking forward to the day when we can do that at the agency that I'm at. But just really leveraging AI to do that in our space, I think, is definitely something we need to be on the lookout for. And to do that, I mean, it's obvious. Do an assessment of what's in your environment now. What tools do you already actually have in place that are capable of doing this work already? Because most of the time, ServiceNow does this, right? Most organizations are using ServiceNow. It's how are you using the tool? Are you getting the most out of it? Can you get more out of it? But even if you don't have that, there's a ton of tools out there that are totally capable of doing this type of work. So leveraging AI to do your GRC is going to be key. There's too many different requirements coming out that we can't keep up. There's so many systems that many agencies have now. It's tough to do those ongoing assessments, right?
Folks might say there's a threat model for that.
Yeah.
They'll start using it for threat modeling eventually, if they haven't already.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for that. So as you're balancing, demanding career, your personal interests can be challenging. So how do activities such as yoga and dance contribute to your overall well-being and professional success?
Yeah. So, we all know we need to work out regularly
and sleep.
Absolutely. But we need to work out, and that's yoga and dance that is my workout jab all year round. In the spring and summer, I love to go for an outdoor run. That's great, but I don't like the winter, and I don't like gyms. So yoga and dance is just my go-to helps for clarity. I go to a local dance studio where we dance and we do yoga. We have showcases once or twice a year, 2 years we have showcases, and I also dance for my dance ministry at my church. So that in itself, when you are doing something you love for the Lord, I'm not trying to take a day to day, but when you're doing something that you love for God, it really it flows throughout all aspects of your life. You go in and you start doing things with a very high precedence. Put in a lot of energy and a lot of time and effort to make sure that it's done correctly. So it goes all the way around for me.
No, and as Alfredzo mentioned, when we talk about sleep and just having different outlets, when we're doing this type of work, when we're talking about with cybersecurity, it can be very demanding. It is demanding, and the amount of hours, especially the more responsibility you have, the more that is asked of you to do what you have to manage. So it can be taxing, and you do need to find those things that. And so as you mentioned, as for yourself, it's yoga and dance. For myself, I like to go to the gym, do some running, weightlifting. I know Alfredzo, he's out there gardening. Even got certified in it.
I'm also rebuilding this bike. You can't see it. I'm gonna get back into bike packing and try to ride this bike around the beautiful Baltimore.
So just all that to say, whatever your outlet is, and this is really just a message for the listeners. As you get into this field and you're really working in it, you do want to make sure you find those things that give you that time to recharge and refuel yourself. Because going hard at it 24/7, you're really going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to enjoy it as much. So you do want to make sure you're taking that time for yourself to for those outlets.
I don't think measure the burnout until you do too. That's something talking to the audience as well. You don't really acknowledge the burnout. You don't when you don't stop, right? You kind of keep going until failure. Right. So taking these outlets ensures that you have the rest and acknowledge like, yo, I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty burnt out doing this job.
Yeah. You want to make sure you take a rest before your body tells you to take a rest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and quickly just to follow up, Dr. Danny, can you share some tips of maybe like maintaining that healthy, work-life balance, especially when we're talking about in the high pressure industry like IT and cybersecurity?
Yeah. So for me, it's all about time management. When I first learned about time management, I was younger, much younger, I would say maybe 17, 18 years old. And I was like, you want me to write every little thing down, from when I'm going to take a shower to when I'm going to study to when I have class, to when I have to work job 1, job 2. Like I have to write all this stuff down. And I did it for the majority of my undergrad years. I did it. And I still do it, not to that degree by any means, but knowing where you spend your time and what you spend your time doing, like that's that's part of it, right? And then to your point, Dr. Joseph, when you were saying, know when you need to take a break before your body tells you have to take a break. Knowing when you just need to stop. Knowing when you know what? I need to walk away. I need to walk away and come back. And one of the things that I keep in my mind, because when I get into something, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like almost obsessed. Like I need to get to the bottom of it. I need to figure out, where's this? Where's all the dots connected? It can be a little obsessive, but these organizations and these companies, if something happens to me today, they're going to be looking for my replacement. And somebody is gladly going to jump in there and fill that role. But my family and friends, there's no replacement for Dr. Danny. Like, there's one of me. So that's something I have to keep in the back of my head. And for the listeners, I recommend you keep that in the back of your head as well. There's only so much you can do within that 8 hours. I'm saying 8 hours because most of us work more than 8 hours. But
after that, it's OT. It's overtime after that.
Overhead, they say.
But those are the main things. Like to your point, Dr. Joseph, know when your body says you need a break. Effectively manage your time. Takes practice. But effectively manage your time and know when it's time to walk away. And find out what it is that you like doing when you do walk away. Maybe it's just to Alfredo's point, go sitting outside and gardening. I like sitting on my back patio. I got a cute little setup back there myself.
Nice.
Nice.
Go garden, go for a walk, maybe you're spending time with the kids, whatever that thing is that, that you relax and decompress, just do it. Do it often.
Words of wisdom there. Words of wisdom. Thank you for that. So again, for those listening, we have Dr. Dannielle Eason here on the Cyber Coffee Hour. So now we're just gonna get to learn a little bit more. I mean, I know we got more of the professional sense, but now we just kind of really just take things laid back as we get into the second half of the episode here. So, and I know you have a couple things couple projects that you're currently working on. I don't know if you want to tell us more about it. I think you have a Raw happy hour, I guess some event is coming up. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So it is called Raw Right After Work Happy Hour.
Oh, I like
nice. I like that.
So a few friends of mine, we started this thing a couple of years ago, but now, so it started off, me just doing these events in my house, but then we was like, let's kind of take it out. So essentially the point of the event is to really get people together and talking, getting rid of some of those gray areas and blurred lines. Let's hear different perspectives. Let's learn about it. So the first event we did was called the Social Disconnect. So it was the disconnect between men and women. And there was a series of questions in there, just really get the conversation going. So we kind of put a spin on it and turned it into more of a professional thing. So we had our first event last month. It's at Chi Lounge, 1214 U Street, Northwest DC. So they'll be on Eventbrite. You can follow me at Dr. Dannielle J. Eason on Instagram. You can follow at Raw Right After Work on Instagram. They're on Posh. Check out Posh. I think I mentioned Eventbrite, and there's a rawrightafterwork.com coming real soon.
Nice.
Also YouTube. We're also on YouTube. So that's coming. But the gist of the events is really to, get people talking when we go to these network events. A lot of times we go to these networking events and it's very superficial conversation. There's serial networkers out there, I like to call it. They don't make genuine connections. They just walk around and talk to everybody and get their socials. And I'm like, what?
I'm just
true.
Serial social network is nice.
So we really wanted to put a space together where people can come. You can learn from each other. So we asked various questions. The last event we did was a Black IT professional event. So we're asking questions. How'd you get into the IT space? Or some of the hardships that you've overcome? To you guys' question, code switching. Do you code switch? How do you feel about bringing your whole self to work? Those types of questions. So it starts out like that, and then the questions, is raw, right? So the questions kind of take a turn and start talking about how do you feel about work husband and work wives when you're in a relationship? Those are real questions.
What?
Some of the responses, I'm like, okay. Other questions, how does a woman who makes significantly more than a man, how does that typically, how is that a factor when dating? So we talk about real questions. We're building IT, or in this case, we're building, those who wanted to get into the IT space, we're building that space for them. And honestly, once the conversation gets going and you start to hear other people's perspective, you be like, I resonate with what that person is saying. I resonate with what somebody else is saying. You're going to learn something. You're going to make a new connection. Hands down, for sure. And that's what those events are all about.
I look forward to the YouTube page when it comes up. I think I need to check out a couple episodes of that. How has cybersecurity impacted your career, business endeavors, lifestyle, just overall?
Yeah, so I would say mostly my lifestyle. It has played an impact on just from the everyday. So I realized being a mentor, I'm always about, okay, so what's happening in new and cyber news? Like, why do I want you to be so interested in this cybersecurity space? So I try to take real world examples and throw it at them. Like, these are the things that's happening. These are the things that's happening. And in doing that, I just realized that someone somewhere has all of our data. That's just the bottom line. Like, somebody somewhere has all of my information, all my mama information, her mama information. They have all of that stuff somewhere. So I'm very mindful of that during my day to day. Everybody should be mindful of that during their day to day, every day. But some people, you're not immersed in the field like that, so you don't think about it. So all of that to say, I'm very mindful of it in my day to day, and I definitely try to push, regular everyday cybersecurity tips along. Getting that identity theft protection, be aware of those vishing and phishing calls, be aware of how AI, the impact of it, the deep fakes and the voice, can't remember the voice transitions, the voice things that they do, but how be mindful of those things throughout your everyday and your day-to-day life. So I'm always on my toes in my everyday life. It's almost like a paranoia, but it's legitimate and it's valid.
Is that social? Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, when you talk about the voice, I think you're talking about like where, like someone like imitates like someone else's voice and like try to scam them out of money. Like, I've heard examples where someone called pretending to be like this grandmother's grandchild, saying they got in a bad accident, need money, and the grandparent now she sends the money because saying like my grandchild's in trouble, but it wasn't her. They just got due because they use the AI. This AI, I don't know what the AI tool is, but they definitely use AI to copy the voice and make it sound as if it was someone they knew, and then try to leverage that and trying to get money out of them. So, but no, I think those are great points you brought up.
Those are the vishing attempts. They're getting very, very sophisticated and accurate to the original victim. Unfortunately, the vishing almost sounds 100% like the person that they're in danger or trying to reach out to. They say, "Oh, that's my nephew," or "That's my granddaughter," because it sounds so accurate now. What I was going to ask too, Dr. Danny, is when you talk about cybersecurity and some of the anxiety that comes with it at these events, do you get like a little bit of a, like, not so much pushback, but like a social anxiety? Because I do. Every time I talk about it now, people are more aware and they're like, well, we don't want to hear that our data is everywhere or it's public record or, there's a breach that has my data in it. So can you help me with that? Like, there's a little bit of social anxiety approaching folks and talking about these things.
For me, there isn't. It just is what it is.
Do you think people want to hear like how to stop those things, like how to stop those things from happening to them?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. That's the part that I'm trying to get reconnected to, is like letting folks know there are ways to prevent these things. There are mitigations. There's worth of conversations, some of the strategies, and then how to protect yourself from some of these really insane data breaches now.
Yeah,
it's up to them to listen.
Yeah.
You can provide all the safeguards and recommendations, but if they don't take heed to what you're saying, then okay. Right, exactly. So
we could say the same thing, like just with our regular security and awareness training, right? We're required to do that. Most of these security breaches happen from the end user.
Yeah, that's true.
It's human error. We're going to make mistakes. We're human, but just saying it over and over and over again as many times as we possibly can. And, it might help somebody with if they're under a vision attack. You're like, you know what? I remember Dr. Danny saying something about this. This just seems very off in my gut. Let me just follow that. So, the little things.
So we definitely want to talk a little bit more about the obstacles we talked about in your professional walk. Can we dive back into like some obstacles you might have overcome right now to arrive where you are today? Like, is there any challenges you're facing in your career now? Or personal,
I'm facing a ton of challenges personally right now. We're not ready to talk about them. We gotta overcome those first. We're gonna circle back to that. But but no, I will say one of the biggest challenges I faced was really during that era that I described earlier, just when I was really getting my feet wet into the IT field as a sysadmin. I was working 2 jobs, and I was in school full time pursuing my doctorate degree. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And again, I had that mentality. I'm taking over the world. I'm doing all of this. And not realizing when I'm burning out. That had no type of anything about burnout back then. You just kind of go. But right. That, all of that work-wise. And then my grandmother was sick for a long time. Since I was in middle school, she was battling cancer. And in 2019, she passed away. But the last 2 years, it was just tough. I'm not sure if you guys, have had a loved one who passed away from cancer or who battled it, but it's not a very easy process. So for me, dealing with that with school, and then I had a personal relationship as well that was just like all over the place. It was a lot. So I think a lot of times when we're talking about our careers and, the hardships we face in our careers, there's also things that we're dealing with personally that make all of everything just a whole lot worse. But all that to say, was definitely able to overcome just sticking to my morals, sticking to, what it is that I wanted to do, and definitely just sticking with my grandmother. Our grandmothers, our mothers, they do something to us. They move us in an amazing way. And right before my grandmother passed, she said, "Dannielle, don't ever stop believing in God." And to this day, when I feel, a little overwhelmed, sometimes I can just hear her voice in the back of my head, and it's just like, tap back into it and just get back in the game, and
keeping it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's great. Because like even for myself, I lost my grandmother recently, and she had a profound impact on my life as well. And she's the reason I'm a doctor today. She was the one who pushed me to pursue my doctorate. So I think that's great that she was able to do that for you, and you still carry that on. You still heed the advice that she gave you. And a lot of times, I think about it, it doesn't need to be like, as you hear like different motivational speakers give long, elaborate speeches. The words of grandmother or grandfather, it doesn't need to be that. It's just as coming from them, the words that they share, or even our parents too, words that they shared, will resonate and stick with us as we go on our careers. So, again, I think that's great. Understand the loss of your grandmother, but I think that's great that she was able to, for one, that you both had that type of relationship where to have that way for you to even of course to heed that, to listen to that. But I think that's great. You still carry that on each step of your career as you move forward. So I think that's beautiful.
100%. I think it's beautiful. I also lost my grandmother as well. I just like to say, real short, her prayers will stay with you for the rest of your life. So the motivation of a grandma is like nothing else. They keep you going, and they're gonna keep you formidable through any obstacle, especially when they're in the here and after, right? No sermons or anything, but I believe my grandmother was strong faith, and I have to be just as strong. So especially when you look at her grandkids, if you have kids and other young ones, you kind of say like grandma wants to keep them in mind and keep them strong hearted and in the faith as well. So I think I 100% relate to that as well. It's something that's going to stick with you the rest of your life and keep you going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one question is probably it's going to lighten the mood a little bit, but it's one of our favorite questions to ask. What is your favorite coffee preference?
My favorite coffee preference, it's so I use pods. I'm not brewing nothing. I got the little pods. I think they make the coffee grounds too, but it's the Starbucks blonde roast.
Okay, I know
Kind
what
of
you're
has
talking
like
about.
a
Yeah.
chocolatey mint, chocolatey hint to it. It's kind of sweet, but not really.
Yeah.
Nice.
With coconut sugar, 2 scoops of coconut sugar.
Coconut sugar. I never
Yeah,
had that.
I was just about to ask that too.
What
Where do you get that? Trader
brand is
Joe's?
that? I'm sorry.
I have to look at the brand again. It's any organic coconut sugar. It tastes like brown sugar.
Check that out.
No particular brand, just organic coconut sugar. Really good.
No, that's what's up. No, the reason I asked because well, it's been years since I actually put anything in my coffee, to be honest. So for me, I always call it foolishness. Like I don't put, I've heard that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
now
I've
I'm
never heard of
intrigued.
it. Yeah,
I love
same.
sugar, but it's like, Danielle, you can't have sugar no more.
Right.
So my alternative is coconut sugar and date sugar, but I prefer the coconut sugar.
Date sugar too? I didn't check that out too. Same. I didn't know that. So my alternative for Americano, I usually get the Starbucks Americano. I used to put 3 brown raw sugars in it.
Okay.
So then to wing myself up for that, I switched to honey. And now I have this other thing too where I get local honey. I try to find honey, bee farmers and stuff that I pick up a jar from. So now I'm gonna try these 2 as well. Just like you said, kind of wing yourself off of the regular sugars or I guess commercial sugars. But honey has been my go-to. So now I have 2 alternatives to that if I want to sweeten it up a little bit more.
You got to be careful with the honey too. Like too much, cause that could be. If anything, I think that's more sweeter than putting the sugar in.
I think
I mean, if you're putting a ton of honey in there,
a tablespoon.
How they do honey. Like sometimes, like to your point, Alfredo, like if you go into like a farm or something, that honey is raw. I think it's
raw.
how they describe it. It's not the processed honey that we get from the store full of the sugar.
Right.
So it's not the same.
It's a farmer's market. It was one I forgot their name. It's probably dropped the ball shouting them out. But there's one in Owens Mills where the guy, he actually has a bee farm on his porch with his dad. And I'm going to find the name and put it in the show notes. But it's literally right here in Owens Mills. So that's my go-to guy now. I'm going to find the name. I have the label upstairs. I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, like you said, he schooled me to it. Now it's processed right here on his porch. Whatever wildflowers is in the environment's right there. And sourced into the honey, so I kind of bought into that.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
So I know you talked about yoga and dance having those different outlets, but is there anything else besides that as far as like you do for your recreational activities, like you play video games, comic books, stuff like that? Do you go to sports games? Like what are some other things you like to get into?
So I guess, yes, I do like sports games. Yes, I do like video games, but I don't do those things like often enough to say that, oh, that's my go-to thing. So more or less, it's more so spending time with my friends. So we go out. I'm your regular PG girl. We go out. We do hookah lounges. We go out to nice dinners. We might go to a sporting event, comedy clubs, things like that. Also, I'm local. I'm by the water, so I love just going out, sitting by the water. Have a jet ski. Hey, we hitting the water today. So that's really my thing. I'm real chill, real low key, type of person. Your regular everyday PG girl, I guess we could call it. So
yeah, on the show, we definitely appreciate you spending time with us here and just sharing some gems and sharing, just learn more about you today. So I thought, again, very, very grateful to have you on. And before we go, is there anything you want to share with our audience before we wrap things up?
Well, first, I definitely want to thank you both, Alfredo, Dr. Joseph, for having me. I appreciate this opportunity more than you guys can imagine. Really appreciate it. Last thing I would like to leave the viewers with, if you are in the DMV area, definitely come to a Raw happy hour or a Raw event. Our next one is Wednesday, July 10th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. As I mentioned, it's at Chicha Lounge in DC, 1214 U Street. You can find the event. It's on my LinkedIn. Dr. Dannielle Eason. It's on my Instagram at Dr. Dannielle J. Eason, or at Raw right after work. Eventbrite, please come through. Come network with us. Come learn with us. Come grow with us. Love to see you there.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you, those watching, tuning in to the Cyber Coffee Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on all of our platforms. You can find the Cyber Coffee Hour on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That's it. That's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.